Hello and welcome to Bright Times. Today, as part of our nuclear series, we're going to look at which countries have nuclear arsenals and how and when they got them. We know that tracing each state's nuclear timeline is somewhat complicated. However, we're going to try and make it a bit easier for you by taking you through a quick history of the nuclear arms race. We already know that back in August 1945, the US dropped the only 2 nuclear bombs ever used in conflict. This action changed the future of our shared and fragile planet forever. Some say for good, some say for bad, and many think we've simply created an ugly world. Whatever your stance, the nuclear age had begun. Currently, there are 8 states that are known to have successfully detonated nuclear weapons. 5 of these are members of the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons Treaty, called NPT. The other 3 states never signed up to the NPT and are therefore not bound by its agreements. The 5 NPT states in order of detonation are USA 1945, Russia, which was once the USSR, in 1949, United Kingdom 1952, France 1960, China in 1964. Then we have the other non-NPT states of India, which was 1974, 10 years later, Pakistan 1998, over 20 years later, then North Korea 2006. What's that, I hear you say? But I was told there were 9 states that had nuclear weapons. Well, you're right. The 9th is supposedly Israel. However, Israel has never actually confirmed that it has a nuclear arsenal, so we can only guess that at some point between 1960 and say 1979, it had successful detonation and has since built its own missiles. So the next question is, how did these 9 nations get the knowledge and technology to build their own? Number 1, well, the USA. By the early 40s, the USA was already looking to build its own program using the major European scientific breakthroughs that had been made through the 30s. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom had already begun the world's first dedicated nuclear weapons research project, codenamed Tube Alloys, in 1941. So in 1942, the United States, in collaboration with the United Kingdom, initiated the Manhattan Project to build a weapon using nuclear fission. The project also involved Canada. Then in 1945, they proved all these theories correct when the uranium bomb Little Boy exploded over Hiroshima, initially causing an estimated 130,000 casualties upon detonation. The second bomb, dropped 3 days later, effectively brought the Second World War to an end. 2. Russia had been working on nuclear options since 1939, but saw little point in spending their limited resources on any serious development, especially with the Nazi war machine poised on their borders. The Russians were aware of the US activities in 1945 and had started thinking about relaunching their own research again, now that the war was coming to a close. By 1945, they had their own version of the bomb and successfully tested it that year. Now we look at the United Kingdom, number 3 on the list. And as noted before, the UK was well underway in the 30s with their own research and were instrumental in the US creating their own bombs. However, not long after the end of the war and before either the UK or Canada could build their own versions, the US decided to scrap the collaboration and therefore left the UK and Canada on their own. Hence, the UK took a few more years to develop a test and a working bomb. This was done in 1952 and created the 3rd state with nuclear capabilities. 4th on the list is France. Now, France's initial interest in nuclear options was looking more at nuclear energy production rather than building weapons. However, by 1956, France decided to follow the UK and started its own nuclear weapons program. In 1960, they conducted their first successful test and have had the capability ever since. Then the final one of the Permanent Council of the UN, China. In an effort to counteract the dominance of nuclear weapons by the West, Moscow signed a secret agreement with China in 1951. Through which China provided uranium ores to the USSR in exchange for Soviet assistance in nuclear technology for China. Along with their own scientists that had been studying in France and the UK, they also had help from some disaffected Manhattan Project personnel. China began developing their nuclear weapons in the late 50s and had their first successful test in 1964. So, by 1964, all the permanent 5 members of the United Nations Security Council had nuclear capabilities. Now we fast forward 10 years. Number 6, India. So on the morning of May the 18th, 1974, a nuclear device was detonated in the Rajasthan desert near Pokhran, India. This event came as a shock to the entire world. The plutonium for the device was extracted from the Canadian India reactor US research reactor, a 40 megawatt reactor supplied by Canada that began operating in 1960. The Indian government referred to the test as a peaceful nuclear explosion geared towards exploring such things as enhanced mining techniques. Obviously, the international reaction was extremely negative, and Canada cut off virtually all nuclear assistance from then on. The United States also restricted such collaborations and persuaded India not to carry out further nuclear tests at that time. India continued its research and development on nuclear weapons, mostly out of the sight of the public. Unfortunately, Pakistan's long-time rivalry with India accelerated its own nuclear program response, and hence we hit nation number 7. Pakistan's nuclear weapons development was in response to the loss of East Pakistan in 1971's Bangladesh Liberation War. By early 1972, Pakistan had started its own nuclear weapons program with a commitment to having the device ready by the end of 1976. It took a lot longer than this, mainly due to issues with the quality of the fissile materials that were needed. They also had problems with their missile delivery systems, which North Korea helped them with in exchange for nuclear technology. However, Pakistan did have one big advantage. Many of its scientists were already working overseas in the field of nuclear research, and most of them helped out with the project. Finally, on the 28th of May 1998, a few weeks after India's second nuclear test, Pakistan detonated 5 nuclear devices. Then the last of the known 8 is North Korea. Now, North Korea has been engaged in a massive nuclear weapon program since the early 1990s, when they started beginning to extract plutonium and atomic fuel from its Soviet-designed nuclear reactors, along with the running centrifuges to produce weapons-grade enriched uranium, which is another bomb fuel. North Korea's program was greatly improved in the mid-1990s when the head of Pakistan's nuclear program, A.Q. Khan, proposed a barter deal under which Pakistan would compensate North Korea for ballistic missile blueprints by providing uranium enrichment technology. We should also note that Khan was also talking with Iran, Syria, Iraq and Libya at the same time. So now North Korea are one of the confirmed 8 states with nuclear weapons. So the 9th, and as we said, a little contentious, is Israel. Now, we know there's little really known about the Israeli nuclear program, as in how advanced it is, what size, or in fact what do they actually have in regards to nuclear bombs. Many see this deliberate nuclear ambiguity by Israel as a clever war deterrent while creating minimal political cost. You know, we don't declare we've got it, but nobody else knows if we do or not, so they won't attack us. So, if indeed they do have the bomb, we have to rationalise that required technical information was supplied to their scientists in the 50s or 60s by the West. So there we are. 9 countries have nukes, and more are likely to follow. Now, we hope that helped a bit with the understanding of where we are now in the world of nuclear arms. We've attached relevant links for your reference, and we'd love to get your comments or feedback if you think we've missed something, or if you want to see us cover anything in more depth. So if you enjoyed our content, please like, subscribe, get notified, and we hope you have a great day.